so now we're to the multiple choice. Know the ranges of blood glucose for pre-diabetic. So, well, do you really need to know that? Because if you know what normal is, what's normal? 70 to 110. And if you know what is diabetic, that's what? 130 or above. So what are we talking here? Between 110 and 125. Okay, so so I'm sorry, I messed that up. So diabetics are at 126. My bad. I also want you to know that hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, which is again really dangerous, that's going to be below 50 milliliters per decigram. So those you're going to have to kind of know.
I was right.
The hemoglobin A1C is got to be 130, is 6% equals 130 milligrams per deciliter. For each percentage above it, it is equivalent to 30 milligrams per deciliter. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? What am I saying, Haley?
When you take the test, if you're at 7%, then you're now at 160 mercury over
Correct.
DL. If you're at 7, then you're at 210, and so on.
Right. No, not 210 yet, would you be?
180.
You're just so you'd be at.
Well, yeah.
You're at 130.
Well,
at
Oh, yeah.
130
Yeah,
at
yeah.
6, so 7, 1.
Yeah, at 7%, you're just gonna add
You'd be at
30,
160,
So you're at 160.
And then
If you're at 8%,
190.
you're at 190. See, so every percent you go up, you add an additional 30. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Complications of gestational diabetes. Well, that wasn't that clear as I looked at that in here. What I would do is I'm really looking for preeclampsia, and that's probably what I'll ask on there. Preeclampsia. And I gotta make a note of that so I don't screw that up. And there's another one I messed up too. Okay, so know both the organs and accessory organs of the GI tract. You need to know them in the order in which they appear from the mouth to anus, and in addition, you will need to know their general function. So, I have in brackets there 8 to 10 points. It's all the way back up here, I think. So right there, what I would do if I were you is I would go back and print that off or go back and look at it and write it down. Because when I write the test, which I have this part written, I mean, I'm going to take basically that definition of what happens in the small intestine.
And these are just multiple choice?
They're multiple choice. Okay, no labeling, no, just they're going to be straight up multiple choice. Now, there may be a picture because I said no in order, right? So there may be a picture of these with a leader line that says, you know, what is that and what is its function. I can still do that through multiple choice, so I don't want you to think I'm lying to you, because you may have to be able to recognize it, right? The other thing that I would tell you on this to look out for is, again, I will probably ask you the difference between the GI tract and the accessory organs. And that's another reason I put that caveat in there of know the order in which they go. Just remember that your accessory organs secrete into the tube. The GI tract is the tube. Distinguish between chemical and mechanical digestion? Well, the answer is in the question. Chemicals mean chemical, mechanical means chewing, peristalsis, churning, okay? That one is just pretty much common sense if you think about it. Function of lower esophageal sphincter is basically to keep chyme from coming back up into the esophagus. Terms bolus and chyme. Again, bolus is, well, let me show you. It's just easier to show you. What did I do with my clicker? This is going to be in the GERD slide, by the way. Here's a bolus. Bolus is just, what I'm going to say is something from the mouth to the stomach, a ball of food. Chyme is what is a semi-liquid paste in the stomach. That's the big difference. Bolus is from the mouth to the stomach. Chyme is actually in the stomach as it's churning. Be able to recognize the structures that create surface area in the intestine. There they are. Circular folds, villi, and microvilli. Okay? I mean, that's straight up what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you the options of circular folds, villi, microvilli. That's the answer. All three of them. Then I'll give you a bunch of distractors. Just made up. So you should be able to figure those out. Know that you have to document feces and what it's done, and so really what I'm looking for is
The 1 through
2, yeah, it's going to be 3 through 5. Yeah, 3 through 5 is normal. That's what I'm asking you. 3 through 5 is normal on Bristol's food chart. You gotta write that one down too. What does charcoal colored feces mean?
Internal bleeding.
Internal bleeding. What's the difference between peristalsis and segmentation? We didn't go over that really hard. Anybody know what peristalsis is? Forward movement. Use the word forward movement of food through the GI tract. Segmentation is back and forth movement in the small intestine only. So peristalsis, any forward movement due to a wave-like motion of your muscles pushing the food down through the alimentary canal. Segmentation is back and forth movement. Definition of a portal system. What's that? Who can give me a definition of a portal system? Yell it out. Oh my gosh. There's a portal system. Does that bring up any reminders?
I remember seeing it.
Portal system goes from one capillary bed to another, bypassing general circulation. I have a portal vein that is actually going from the small intestine, the capillary beds in the small intestine, to the capillary beds in my liver, and I do not dump that back into my inferior vena cava until I have done what? Filtered everything. That's the function of this particular one. I'm going to filter everything that I eat and drink, right? So this is why your blood alcohol content goes down. This is why, again, we talked about medications are going to go down in their therapeutic level, because every time you pass blood through that liver, it's going to go down, but you're going to go from the small intestine to the liver. Does that make sense now? You remember that now? Okay. Ghrelin makes you hungry, peptide YY makes you feel full. That's exactly what I'm going to ask you. What does ghrelin do? Makes you feel full. Sorry, makes you feel hungry. Just makes you feel hungry. Peptide YY makes you feel full. Risk factors of GERD, that's a really poorly worded. Here's what I'm going to ask you is what can cause GERD? Smoking, drinking alcohol, eating too late and lying down flat. Those are the primary risk factors. Eating too large of meals, overeating, all of those things can cause GERD. Again, intrinsic factor. Here's intrinsic factor somewhere close. There's intrinsic factor. Again, it's that little blue thing up there. It is what binds B12, and it is only found in the stomach. So if you bypass the stomach, like gastric bypass, your patients are not going to have enough B12. And if you're a vegetarian, again, B12 mainly comes from animal, or it does come from animal sources, so you're not going to get it. Let me just go back. There's your peptide YY and ghrelin, by the way. It's going to tell you what they do. The 3 phases of digestion. I just saw those right there. So cephalic, remember cephalic is head. It's going to be the sight, smell, thought of food. Is going to start all your secretions. Gastric phase is based on distension of the stomach, so it's that feedback loop. So the more your stomach expands, it's going to feed back to your medulla and tell you that you're full. And then the gastrointestinal phase is cued off of a change in pH from very acidic to basic. And I'll probably ask those separately, so that's probably 4 to 6 points, in case you're counting. Be able to distinguish between flu and gastroenteritis. Who can do that? What's gastroenteritis?
It's like when you throw up a lot and have diarrhea.
Yep, diarrhea and vomit. Flu is what? Aches and pains and fever. Primary cause of ulcers. No. H. pylori. Heliobacter pylori. I'm going to just put H. pylori up there. A lot of people used to think it was drinking, but drinking, again, just exacerbates it. This is completely caused by bacteria, and we can treat it through antibiotics.
So, didn't that one guy do it to himself to prove it?
Yep. What forms gallstones?
Diet.
Cholesterol. So where are we at here? We'll be right here. That is cholesterol. Comes out of solution. What causes celiac disease and why is absorption difficult? What causes it?
Is it autoimmune?
It is, but what causes it? Gluten. Remember, only celiac is caused by eating rye, wheat, or barley. It's the gluten in those grains. What that gluten does is it causes inflammation, which therefore you lose surface area. So that inflammation causes those villi to lessen in their surface area, therefore you can't absorb as well. Know that Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are inflammatory bowel diseases. I might ask that. Kind of unlikely. Be able to recognize the difference between positive and negative energy balance. Well, again, I don't believe in this, but I'm going to probably put it on there just so you can remember. If you take in more than you exercise or burn off, then you're going to gain weight. If you burn off more than you take in, then you'll lose weight. The only problem with that is that we've been telling that people for decades and it doesn't work. Because what? Why doesn't it work?
Everybody's body's different, process is different.
Right, a calorie is not a calorie. So that whole equation is kind of bogus, and yet you'll find it in every nutritional book out there. Okay, so this next one, kind of important. How do you calculate BMI? Height and weight. That's all it is. Is you divide your height and weight, and that is going to give you a number. And right, we're going to judge everything about you from there on out based on your height and weight. Is it an accurate measurement? Why not?
It doesn't account for muscle mass.
Doesn't account for muscle mass. Doesn't account for really tall people or really short people. Right? So if you're a weightlifter, it won't account for that. And if you're really tall or really short, it won't account for that. But how accurate is it at predicting morbidity and mortality? Very good. That's why we use it. So I had to explain that to somebody the other day who was already a nurse who was doing my health assessment, because I told you I was doing my health assessment a couple weeks ago. And she goes, oh, you don't really need to believe in BMI because it's not accurate. And I said, oh, she goes, but our doctor makes us use it. And I'm like, well, your doctor makes you use it because it's a good predictor of mortality, morbidity and mortality. I go, you're right. It's not an accurate, but it's a good predictor. And she's like, oh. So that's why your doctor does it. Okay. So that's why I want you to understand it is a very good predictor of morbidity and mortality. Then, what about BMR? What is BMR, or basal metabolic rate?
It's how much his body burns, like calorie-wise, at resting if you were to never do anything.
There's the key thing. It is the amount of energy needed to keep you alive at rest. That's probably how I will word it. It measures the amount of energy needed to keep you alive at rest. In other words, while you're sleeping, the amount of energy to keep your nervous and muscle system ready to go, your heart beating, all of that stuff. What's better, apple-shaped or pear-shaped? What?
Depends on your gender.
Pear-shaped. Pear-shaped or gynoid obesity is much better than apple-shaped or central obesity. Which reminds me, because I had to add this in my last class, and I'm going to add it here. You need to know the difference between visceral and subcutaneous fat.
Visceral
So
is
let
around
me
your organs.
do this for you. Subcutaneous, below cutaneous skin, below the skin. This is the fat you can see, okay? Visceral fat you can't see. Visceral fat's around what?
Your
The organs. You're gonna lose, when you go to lose weight, that's the weight you're gonna lose first, because that is the most critical of the weights.
Can you go over the apple and pear shape why each is better?
Yes, I can absolutely do that. If I can find it.
Bless you.
Come on. Sorry.
There it is. So, the reason apple shape is bad for you or central obesity is bad is because look at where that fat is. It's around your heart. It's around your spleen. It's around your organs. Okay. Again, what you can remember, hopefully you can remember this, because pear-shaped is usually in women, not always. And again, apple shape is usually in men, but not always. This is in your hips and butt. And remember I said, what organs do you have in your hips and your butt?
None.
Oh yeah, none. So it therefore is healthy.
Just because it's further.
Just because there are no organs there. Yeah. So you have no visceral fat. So, and again, I think I just saw it. It's in either above or below this. There's your visceral and your subcutaneous fat. So again, this is what we do not want to see. We do not want to see all that fat around our organs. Okay. All right. And then know the enterotypes, Bacteroides and Prevotella. Bacteroides is meat-based, Prevotella is plant-based. So use a mnemonic device there. Bacon, Bacteroides, and plants and Prevotella. I mean, that's pretty easy to remember. Okay, any other questions?
What measurement is even better than BMI at predicting cardiovascular?
Oh, I missed that one. So tell me, what measurement is better than
Isn't that the taping?
The
hip to waist ratio?
It's to waist ratio.
Yes, hip to waist ratio. Thank you for calling me out on that. I skipped one.
What do you mean by that? Like, I know what you mean, like, based off the measurements.
Yeah, based on the measurements. So if you look, there is a where is that one at? It's got to be right around here somewhere. I thought. No, it's going to be up because I know I have it by measurement.
Yeah, I
think it was
There's
a-
the measurement right there. But here is the actual, what it should be. This is a better indicator. Now, I'm not going to ask you that number because you can look that number up. But that's what it is. It's that hip to waist ratio. Now, for me, I told you I pay attention to my pants, right? So that's just waist. That's not hip. So this is waist. This is hip. Goes all the way around your butt. And then you divide those two. But that's a much better indicator of cardiovascular disease.
Just because it, I mean, if like with central, you're obviously bigger in the belly just because you're able to.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's because it's measuring your visceral fat, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
system? Did we talk about that?
Yep. Hepatic portal system again is causing you to filter everything and bypassing general circulation.
This is
General.
next Wednesday, right?
This is Monday. Now you're off Monday.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
This is Monday,
Oh, yeah,
and I'm not done yet either. So Monday, because you're off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're only coming to school Monday and Tuesday if you have Monday and Tuesday classes.
Oh.
Oh, so we're on break starting on Wednesday. You don't have school Wednesday. We're giving you a travel day. That's why we do it. So you're going to be here on, what is today? Wednesday? So you're going to be here on Monday to take the test.
The
And then you're
20th.
done. Unless you have a Tuesday class. Okay? All right, so I'm going to show you what we're going to go into next here real quick.